Hello everyone and welcome back to another Truth or Foil. We're going to do a deep dive on Patomskiy's crater today. That's a crater in Siberia. I know I said I was going to do something relevant to Agartha since I'd done a lot of content that kind of revolved around Agartha already, but after reading into it, that's more of a hollow earth theory than the biodomes that I thought it was. So we're going to go ahead and avoid Agartha for now. I might go into it at some point, but Patomskiy's crater is very interesting, and it's a little bit shorter than the other ones, so I figured I'd get into it, put another video out, see what you guys think. Patomskiy's crater is also known as Potom's crater, and it is also known as Fire Eagle's Nest by the natives that are in that area. It is a peculiar rock formation located in the Badaibo district of the Irkutsk region of southeastern Siberia. It is a large mound made up of shattered limestone blocks, which that's pretty interesting, and it's on the slopes of the Poto Highlands, which is why it has Potom's crater as another nickname. The base of the crater is about 160 meters in diameter, and it's about 40 meters tall, which that is really big overall. It's in a cone ring kind of shape. There's a smaller mound at the top of the first mound that is about 12 meters in diameter and 6 meters tall, which isn't as big, but it's a secondary mound, so it goes up like this into another mound that goes over the top of the original mound. It's a really interesting shape, and I'll have it on screen for you to look at. The volume of the crater is estimated to be about 230,000 to 250,000 cubic meters, which that's absurd. That's massive, with a weight of more than 1 million tons. The crater was discovered in 1949 by a Russian geologist, Vadim Kolpakov. Its origins have been the subject of intense scientific interest, with hypotheses including meteorites, like one big meteor or multiple meteorites, landing there. There was another meteor site not far from there, so some people thought maybe it was like a branch off of that. Volcanic and gaseous origins. But to date, no definite proof has been given for any of these yet. The leading theory is that it is in fact a gaseous volcano. That's where basically volcanic gas builds up, but lava isn't present enough in that area to cause an actual volcanic eruption, so the gases build and build until they push their way out. So you would have like a volcanic mound that's just from gas. That's a pretty interesting theory, and it makes some sense to me. The crater is estimated to only be about 300 to 350 years old, which is not very old. However, the nearby trees that are in that surrounding circle around the crater have experienced drastic growth, which would be in line with a radioactive event, because radioactivity and radioactive mutagens usually cause flora to grow rapidly in an area where there's high radioactivity of certain kinds. However, the stranger part of that is that nothing in the circle actually grows, and large animals completely avoid the area. Until recently, about 50 years ago, scientists believed that the crater was basically what's called a large footprint of an ultra-dense meteorite, which had sunk underground upon impact. Another hypothesis was that it was a fragment of the Tunguska meteorite. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Others believe that the crater was a result of a breakthrough of natural gas, which was what I was mentioning. And several scientific expeditions have been sent to the crater, but the nature of its origins have remained a mystery so far. They have ruled a couple things out, but they have no definite answer as to what it is yet. There are astronomers and geophysicists from the Irkutsk State Technical University and the Geochemist Institute of Geosphere Dynamics, the RAS of Moscow. Latest update that we have comes from a scientific conference that was held by the St. Petersburg Mining Institute in 2010. Victor Sergeyerik, I believe is how you pronounce it, head of the department at the Institute of Geochemistry, stated that no new evidence has been found to support the idea that the crater was formed by a meteor. So it has to be ruled out, and the theory that a deep gas eruption is the most likely cause, which this has some controversy to it. But overall, it is the leading theory. It makes the most sense to everyone. A lot of the conspiracies around this stem from the growth of plants and trees that are surrounding the crater, mostly because when they did like tests in the area to see how radioactive it was, because that's like the leading cause of like massive growth of plants and trees in one isolated area would be radioactive mutagens. But when they tested it, the radioactivity was extremely nominal. It'd be the same as saying that, you know, bananas are radioactive, because they technically are, but their rating in radioactivity is so low that you would never know. You could eat, 500 of them in a month, and you would likely never see any radioactive activity in your body. It's just so nominal that your body's used to it. And that's what's going on in the crater, is that the radioactivity is so nominal that it doesn't actually affect anything. So the flora growth is unexplained, which leads to conspiracies, of course. Some of the theories that originally led to this idea that it was radioactive besides the plant growth were possible underground uranium deposits, or possibly nuclear tests that have been done, although the mounds are not consistent with what a nuclear explosion would look like. Some people thought that maybe they had a hole or a bunker or something under this mound and had set off a nuclear test to see like what a bunker busting nuclear weapon would look like. So that is one of the theories, but it's extremely unlikely. There's so many things that would have to be in place for that to happen. And then at the same time, building an underground bunker just to blow it up, as much as you would like to test it, the cost, especially since that area would have been controlled by the Soviet Union for the majority of that time, and then it's said to be 300 years old, and the Soviet Union wasn't even around by then. It doesn't make any sense, and there'd be no funding and no reason. And if the crater really is 300 years old, then how would they have set off a nuclear bomb? Because, not even close to the same time period. It's a whole thing. It doesn't make any sense. For the plants to have grown as big as they did would definitely lend itself to radioactivity, but there wasn't enough radioactivity, or basically any, to have caused that. Although there are other causes for plants to grow excessively, the jury's still kind of out on how they could have gotten so big so fast. To give you perspective, they are about twice the size of a normal, like the plants that are behind them that aren't near enough to the circle, they're about twice the size that they should be, which is kind of crazy. Another property around the crater that is a little bit strange, that they're having a hard time explaining, would be the strange magnetic anomalies. And even though they're kind of sporadic, they seem to change over time. Like, you won't find the same magnetic source in the same spot if you went, back in 1 year. But that has some explanation to it in terms of different magnetic fields just changing over time, because they do. But besides that, since it's a limestone deposit, and it's just a bunch of cracked limestone, it's kind of strange that it's magnetic in certain spots. It shouldn't be magnetic in many spots. The main conspiracy theory here has to do with the thought that a spaceship is crashed here, and that's why the mound looks so weird, and why things are acting weird around it, as in random magnetic fields and plant growth, which I don't know what that has to do with a spaceship besides radioactivity. And on that note, if it was a spaceship, it would more than likely give off a strong gamma radiation, Since spaceships have to go out in space, there's a ton of gamma radiation out in space. It would constantly be exposed to it, so more than likely it would have a gamma radiation signature when they went to test it, and it doesn't. It has no gamma radiation, actually. I can't remember what the radiation type was, but it does have some radiation, just not nearly enough for anyone to even notice, unless they specifically tested for it. Not only that, but the crater doesn't seem to have a trail of any kind, any sort of damage behind it. It's literally just a mound. So if it's just a mound, how are you going to explain a crashed ship? Even if it came straight down, it's not going to come... Let me rephrase that. It's not going to come down at a straight 90-degree angle at the ground. That's not possible. Not only because the Earth is rotating, so anything that's coming down at it is going to hit at an angle, guaranteed, but how likely would it be that anything coming into our atmosphere is going to line up directly with the ground before it hits it? It just doesn't make any sense. There would be a trail for it. So for that, I would say, that kind of rules it out in itself. There are a lot of unexplained things around this. The magnetic fields are really interesting because limestone deposits plus magnetic fields equal confusing. And then the random plant growth that is about twice as tall as it should be, that's really strange, especially since there's no radiation, and the nitrogen potom levels are completely normal. So I believe they need to do more tests to figure out what's going on with the plants, because that could be something useful or harmful. But I don't believe that it's some crashed spaceship. I believe it's just a gas buildup that erupted and created a strange looking mound, because eruptions always look different. They're weird. It's a weird phenomena, but it is natural and it does happen. So let's go ahead and decide if this is truth or foil. I know this has been kind of a short video, but there hasn't been a whole lot that's actually all that strange about this one. I just thought it was really interesting and I wanted to kind of talk about it and get another video out as soon as I could. There is truth that this is a crater that exists. It's a crater with some strange properties, and there have been scientific explorations that have been unable to completely explain it. But there are tons of theories that make sense, and they completely explain most of what happened there. The main issue into why they haven't done more exploring of this and doing more with it is basically they didn't decide to do anything with this crater until after the Soviet Union was dissolved. And then on top of that, they can't get any more funding to really mess with it because there's no benefit to it. And Moscow's in charge of it. So until, I guess, Putin decides that he wants to do something more with it, it's just going to sit there kind of unexplored. It's just how it is. I will say that it is strange that the plants around the crater grow to twice the size, unexplained. It is strange that there's random magnetic fields in this limestone deposit. And I will also say that it is kind of strange that larger animals apparently avoid the crater entirely, and that no plant life will grow on it. However, it is, in my opinion, with a lot of research and a bunch of experts to back my opinion up, that there is no crashed spaceship here. There's no alien life in this crater. However, it is my opinion that it is not possible that there's a spaceship crashed here. None at all. There's no radiation, there's no trail, and there's no debris from a ship. Something crashing into the Earth would always leave debris, just straight up how it would be. Not only that, but the mound and the way it came up has the same kind of shape as a gaseous volcanic eruption. It's basically Occam's razor. The simplest answer is most likely the right one. This isn't always the case, but in this case, it kind of just makes sense for it to be a gaseous eruption. If you can hear my bird, I am very sorry. It's hormone season and he is being a little bit crazy. So truth or foil? The crater is a truth. It exists. It has some strange things around it, but it exists. Plain and simple, that's the truth. However, the thought that this is an alien spaceship is foil entirely. There's just zero evidence to back it up, and there's tons of evidence to show that it is just a gaseous volcanic eruption. Is it still an interesting scenario because, some strange things happen around it? Sure, but those strange things also partially line up with volcanic activity anyway, such as the large animals avoiding it. Maybe they can detect that there's something there that would be poisonous to them if they stayed in the area. So, just makes sense. I really hope that the crater will get some more investigation. I know that the RAS of Moscow has apparently all the power around doing more investigations, so I really hope to hear more about this, just to kind of solidify why there's magnetic fields and why the plants are growing twice the size that they should be. But overall, it's not really something that I think that they will waste any money or time on, as interesting as it is to me. I want to thank you all for watching. If you want to support me, like and comment because it helps the YouTube algorithm. Then share my video with your friends, because that'll also help me a lot. And I'll see you all on the next Truth or Foil.